Welcome to We Know Marketing, We Promise. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Naoma, and this is a show about how to actually build a brand that works. Okay, welcome back. We are going to talk about
Damaging your brand and how you do that when you have...
Well, there's many ways you can damage your brand, but we're specifically going to start...
Yeah, we'll start with one because I've been getting a lot of questions from people. I've been really good about not touching my mic today, but...
It's episode 4.
I can't help myself now. No, I get a lot of questions from people that hire us to do their social, and they want to know if it looks bad for the brand to have different employees that like have potentially not worked there anymore. Like, do they need to keep employees off of social media in case they churn or whatever? And also, how do they train someone internally to understand their like social media guidelines and the brand that we're trying, like the social media strategy when they move into a new position? So if we have a new person that's like helping us, because we usually do need someone internally to help us implement their social media strategy, even if we're doing most of it, shoots, things like that, they need to understand the strategy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times clients are scared and they're not sure how to like keep it going because it'll flow really well with one person and then that person will like go somewhere else, move on, new person comes in and it's not flowing anymore. And like, why is it not flowing? So there's two different things there. One, we're not even going to address today. I mean, I can obviously talk about why I think you should still have your employees on social media, even though they might leave. That's a completely different conversation, though, in my opinion. And then the other one would just be like, how do you train a new person on the brand and how to represent your company well on social and talk about your company and all of those things.
Yeah. Well, I think that comes from that leadership not even understanding their own brand typically.
Yeah.
So what we like to do is when we do a brand at Nuevo, we like to come in and present it to leadership and to the rest of the team so that they know what the golden circle is, like what we do, how we do it, why we do it, that we understand our core values, that we understand how we talk about ourselves, that there's some brand guidelines, some tone guidelines, and then we create some kind of like one-liners for people to use so that they could use the one that is like best, like that feels better for them to say.
Yeah.
But there's a consistent message thread that is getting told throughout the whole company. Now, that's an ideal world, right? You have somebody come and present that to you. But what I would challenge leadership and business owners right now is that if you don't have that documented, document it. It does not have to be this gorgeous, beautiful thing, but at least have it outlined so that when you bring on new people and you're training them and you're onboarding them, no matter if they're not even in the marketing department, they should know, everybody should be talking about where they work at. Because when they go out with friends or they meet somebody or they go here, like, where do you work? What do you do? And if everybody's starting to say different things about your company, that's starting to dilute the brand.
Yeah.
So I like it when the whole team knows exactly what that company does and who they do it for, and then they can talk about their role in it. With that being said, I think where things start to get damaged is when you don't have that and you don't have that controlled. So everybody just kind of starts to say things that they want to say.
Yeah.
Or they start kind of taking over social, or, my arch nemesis Debbie at the front desk is making stuff in Canva, and then everything looks hodgepodge. Everybody's saying different things. Your leadership team is, no one's going in the same direction. And that's when your brand starts to consistently break down and lose trust. So it's up to leadership to make sure that everybody is well equipped to understand the brand, understand the vision, and know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And if the brand is, I mean, I think about like the core values, and if the brand is already weaved in the organization, like weaved into all the people and into the organization and like rhythms that you already have,
Yeah.
people are going to pick up on it a lot faster. But I do think there has to be an intentional training around like, this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is how we do it. And especially if you're in the marketing department, like, I mean, first off, those should be the first questions you're asking. You should never be creating something and not asking what the brand's logo is and the font, sorry. And
Even the
like,
logo, though.
even the logo,
Yes.
absolutely. Because what we've had happen is we'll partner with someone and they send us old brand guidelines and
Yep.
old logos, and then we get the new ones and we're like,
What happened?
what's going on here? This is
Yeah.
And then they'll get saved in our stuff, and I'm like, no, delete those right now, because if someone gets confused
Yes.
that comes onto our team that's new and is being trained in our clients' brands, then like they're gonna confuse that old brand, and we like, just delete it. It doesn't need to live in here. But no, I think something that training is obviously like the most important thing. You understanding it first so that you can then train people on it, of course. And then I would say for social, one of the biggest things is don't just hand it off without like, even if it's like someone coming in, an agency partner, like they need to be asking you those questions and like learning who the brand is and understanding it. Don't just hand off your logo and fonts and then like let someone do your social. That does not mean they understand your brand. That definitely doesn't mean they understand your brand strategy and your business and what you're trying to actually accomplish as a business.
No, I've seen a lot of agencies break brands intentionally and just say, oh, well, we were trying to be different or change it up a little bit. Don't do that. Don't let that happen, because that is breaking your brand. But I did just want to preface one more thing is when you have led your team and your team is well trained on the brand, the great thing about that is that you are creating brand advocates within your business. So you do not have to, as the owner, you do not have to be watching every single person, because everybody is collectively checking that we're still in alignment. That shouldn't go out. That doesn't look right. That doesn't feel like us. Everybody else is now upholding the brand and advocating for the brand when you're not in the room. And that's what you want. And that's how you stay consistent. That's how you stay strong. That's how it feels very intentional when you're on social, when you're on their website, etc.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think that takes slowing down and doing things that don't feel like it's bringing in an ROI. And I think that's hard for business owners to do. It's like to take the time to do a training day and reiterate it. I think the ways that I've slowly started to weave it into our weekly patterns and kind of rhythms is like we talk about our core values all the time on team calls. When I'm doing one-on-ones with my team, I'm pointing out ways that I've seen them like reflect the core values or the brand. I reiterate over and over again, like we are here, like we're about people, we're about our clients, and we're about our team and our partners, but like we are people first. So when you are over processing something or going, remember like we're here for people, because we can lose sight of that. And so I do feel like you become, and it's like the brand is so much of who I am that I think it naturally comes out of me. But sometimes I feel like when someone doesn't have a brand strategy,
that all lives in the owner's head. That's the problem.
It does. And it's like based on how the owner's kind of showing up that day, I guess. And so you pick up on the person though, like, the brand, the essence that they're carrying with them. But if there's no structure to that, like how are you supposed to?
Well, this is where I think people don't realize how big a brand actually is. A lot of people are like, it's a logo or it's my visual identity. Like if you feel like you're a little bit better than other people, you're like, I need a visual identity. But a brand is all of it. It is core values. It is the messaging. It is defining our ICPs. It is what is our brand differentiator? What is our unique value proposition? And all of that has to be understood, and it has to be extracted from the owner and from data to then build what you think the brand is, which is visual identity, patterns, color, typography, fonts that then Deborah is adding a script to and damaging, and your website and your social and your campaigns and your billboards. All of that then starts to shape your visual identity. But if the bottom part of the iceberg is not built out and explained, all this top stuff is just decoration.
It is.
And if it all is living in the owner's head, none of the team is in alignment, even though it may feel like it. But as more people come onto the team, more misalignment will be felt.
Yes.
And more hard conversations are going to happen because everybody is essentially creating their version of the brand.
Yep.
So it's like you have, like, the owner is the purest version of the brand because in their mind they know what they're doing, but they haven't articulated it. Their second in command is like an 80% version of the brand, and then it starts to ripple and go further away from what the core vision is, unless it's explained and documented and the whole team is trained to be working as one force rather than all these little particles that are all floating around.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one thing I would say too, if you are a brand that has social media managers that are probably coming in and out, because sometimes like that's a pretty high turnover
Yep.
job role. I would just be really clear on like what the guidelines are for that specific job role and what your expectations are for, obviously based on the brand strategy and what that looks like. Like show them a visual of what that looks like done in a way that is successful to you. And have that outlined in either training videos or, obviously documents. I think videos are really helpful because people interpret text different than they do like watching someone talk. But if you have a position that is a higher turnover position, which is just going to happen in certain businesses, I would highly, highly recommend getting those things outlined so that you're not immediately losing that the second you lose that person, because either way, they're not going to be at 100%, but they can get as close to that as possible.
They can.
With being around you and having the materials that they need to be successful with their job.
I will say, especially for the people in marketing, they're probably the really closest to your brand aside from the owner. And if that stuff is not documented, a lot of that equity is in that person's brain, just like the equity is in the visionary's brain.
Yes.
And so when that person leaves, a lot of that equity gets lost. And I know that people are like, but there's no ROI to branding or there's no ROI to training these people. I would highly suggest you reconsider that because the ROI of branding and the ROI of being remembered, of being sought after, of being consistent, of being trustworthy is way more than you think it could be.
Yes. Yes. 100%. Yes. And I mean, I will say, I don't think from a social media perspective, I don't think having an employee that has been featured on social media and then them leaving, I don't think that that's hurting your brand. That is just business. Like,
Yep.
People leave and move on. And
now,
then
if they were the only person ever posted,
that's a problem.
that's a problem. And that's probably because the owner is scared to show up online.
Yes.
Put somebody else out there. I mean, that's kind of why mascots start to exist, right? Like, that's why
Yep.
Duolingo has the owl. That's why all these mascots start to happen, so that when you're large enough, it's the mascot that can be the center stage rather than a person. But I think it's totally natural to show the team. People want to know who's working with them. People want to know who they're going to interact with.
Yes.
But if you only have one person and it's not the owner that's showing up, I'd probably start working on changing that quickly.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. It does need to be an equal amount of the people on the team. And I think the owner should probably be the one featured the most, which I know they probably hate, but that makes the most sense because you're probably going to be the one that doesn't leave.
Yep.
But it's okay. It's okay to like show the natural side of just life, and that happens. Like people leave and move on, and everyone's kind of aware of that. So it doesn't need to be like a shameful thing. I definitely wouldn't say don't refuse your social media strategy. Like, don't be like, I'm absolutely not posting anyone on my team, because
that's boring.
Yeah, no one wants to see content like that. No one.
No.
That's not a strategy, actually,
no.
at all.
No.
So no, I think that's helpful for sure.
I think so. That's talking about like the internal training, and that could be a way that your brand is getting derailed. But it just comes back to being so intentional with it and training the team up and training the team up in like what ownership they have of certain parts of the brand. That's where we've talked about this before, like having a source of truth document about messaging, so that whoever's doing your website, whoever's doing your newsletter, whoever's doing your social, that all sounds the same and is feeling cohesive and not disjointed. Because even if they're working off of the brand identity, which is all the visual stuff, they could be sounding very different, and that's still disjointing your brand.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, messaging, that's a huge one. I'm like, who posted that? When I'm like, we'll like bring on a client and then they have someone internally that's still posting, which our contract says like they can't continue to post because we can't guarantee our strategy.
Yeah.
Which we can't guarantee it, period, but we like for sure can't guarantee results.
When Debbie is still posting her Canva made stuff.
Yes. And most of the times it's the caption. It's like it'll be a photo or something that's not too bad. And I could probably align it to the strategy if I had control over the caption, but then the caption's up and I'm like, what?
Keyword was too bad. It still is bad.
Still bad. Not too bad, but yeah, the messaging for social is very, very important. And I think people have not taken that as seriously as they should because they don't realize AI is crawling all of their content and it's checking to see like, how cohesive your brand is because it's wanting to AI and just the algorithms.
It wants pattern.
It wants pattern and it wants to
recognition.
it wants to see who you are wanting to draw in and who could potentially benefit from that content because that's what's going to draw the person back, to getting online. So I think that's great. Very helpful.
Yeah, I will say the biggest thing that I really see is the owner having no stake in what the brand is because they think that they're they think that their industry is excluded from brand. That's where I see the biggest issue is they're like, well, we've been doing this forever this way. It doesn't really matter. The thing is like the amount of businesses that can be opening and that can come after you and competition wise is insane.
Yes.
And so it's trying to do things the way business was done in the 90s. I mean, good luck staying in business for the next 5 years. But so that's where I think like really being protective of your investment of if you did the brand, if you did the strategy, the way to protect that investment is to truly train up your team, to truly give them all the documents necessary, all the source of truth, all of those things, and have them really understand it so that then you're not the one micromanaging them because you also don't have time to do that.
Yep.
So,
and that means catching it early and keeping them accountable early. Like, this isn't on brand. This isn't on brand. Like during the first few weeks of their trainings, like do not let stuff go on for weeks and weeks and then be like, you haven't been operating from our brand since day one that you started. And I gave you all these documents. Have you even read them? Like, no, you need to be making sure that that's showing, like you can see that they're starting to understand it from the first few weeks that they've been working with you.
Yeah. Like I have a client right now and they're working with an agency, a micro agency to do their social. And I can see that the social is just getting diluted. They're not being consistent to the point where I said, if you need, have them send everything through me because you are paying me for brand HQ. And I will say this is on brand or this is not on brand because sometimes you don't know the words to tell that person and your team is not versed in the brand. But if you were working with a partner like me or like Kelsey, we would definitely be like, that's not on brand. And we are here to protect your investment, not to just be putting stuff out and being cool with it. So if you don't know how to do it, hire somebody to do it because when you come time to sell, to exit, to do whatever it is that you want to do with your business, brand is going to be a huge part of your selling point, not just your P&L, not just who you have under contract. But if your brand has a reputation that is sought after and there's an IP behind it, your brand is worth a lot more money than your P&L statement.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So stop letting Debbie manage it. Bye.
And I think we can end on that note. And that's a wrap on this episode.
If you found this helpful, hit subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend.